Hey. Hey, guys.
Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of You Get What You Get. I'm Rickey Hampton with my great friends Tree McDougal and Tim Turner. I hadn't seen you guys since last year, man. It's been a to
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
my wife Kathy is so tired of me using that joke every year.
That's okay. It's still,
It's
it
one of
still
It's
works.
one of my favorite.
Still works.
it,
Still
yeah,
works.
it works. It's relevant and it's true. Have not seen it.
Absolutely. As I tell Kathy, I got a million of them. She's like, "Yeah, you do have a million of them." Unfortunately, I got to listen to them all. But really, it's good to see you guys. We got a ton of stuff to talk about. Uh, College football is coming to its end with the college football playoffs, NFL playoffs. Football is king in America, and the crescendo is fast approaching as we head down the home stretch. But let's kick it off with some college football because Tim, we got a special guest coming on in a couple of minutes to visit with us, right?
Yeah. We're down to the final four. We have the Orange Bowl, which is going to pit a really unique matchup, and I wonder how much they're going to play up the one of the main storylines. You have Freeman, head coach in Notre Dame, going against Penn State, and you have two
James
African American,
Franklin.
Franklin, African American coaches going against each other down there in the Orange Bowl, and which assures that there'll be an African American head coach in the national championship game come January 20th here in Atlanta. You have that, and then you have University of Texas playing essentially a home game. They've already played in Dallas once this year when they played Oklahoma in the Red River Classic. They're back there in Dallas this time in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl against a really fine Ohio State team, which really looks like they may be the team to beat this year. They may be the national champions. So it'll be interesting to see that game as well. And with us tonight, coming on in about 7 minutes, will be the chairman of the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, Mr. Kelvin Walker.
Cool.
Wow,
It's a lot happening.
that is, yeah, it really is, and Ohio State is really interesting for them because even if they win the national title, it'll be some Ohio State fans still mad because they lost their uh, final regular season game to the University of Michigan.
That's
Uh,
right.
yeah, I mean that's crazy, Tim. You're the national freaking champ. So what?
But I can feel that. It's like, Atlanta, the Falcons here could, generally they could lose every game but two when they play the Saints. If they were to go 15-2 in both games with New Orleans they lost and won a Super Bowl, people still be pointing to those two games against the Saints. It's that kind of rivalry. And it's crazy because Ryan Day has done a great job this year. Well, I'll put Ryan Day and Chip Kelly because their offensive coordinator Chip Kelly has done a masterful job with Ohio State. And they really look like a fine-tuned machine on both sides of the ball. It's going to be a really good fight for Texas. I think Texas got a really good draw to get into this. Who knows what would have happened if Georgia their quarterback not gotten hurt because Notre Dame wasn't a world beater. Mm-hmm. They got like points off of turnovers from the guy who's making his first start of the year. He's making it in the quarterfinals of the championship series. Not to say that it was his fault. And then again, too, in Texas, their game against Arizona State, they got the benefit of a really questionable call where, not 100 out of 100, out of 100 times with different officiating crew, there's a targeting hit on the kid from Arizona State, which would have given them
that was definitely targeting.
Definitely targeting. The kid's head snapped back. You see helmet to helmet. His head snaps back. No call. And Arizona, you don't know if Arizona State's going to score, but they would have had the ball and it had a first down. That kid had been kicked out of the game. Arizona State played a super game. They played that that was a Peach Bowl, and I'm working at the airport. And anybody I saw wearing maroon and gold, I went up to him and said, "You got robbed. You got robbed." They said, "We know it." It's like,
I was going to say, yeah, you're stating the obvious. We know.
yes,
We know.
we know it. We got robbed. So,
Boy, Atlanta has really, of course, Atlanta has been a major metropolitan city for many years, but it's really become a sports destination for big time athletics, man. You had the Olympics going all the way back to the 90s, the Final Fours, and especially college football. And it's really in the heart of the SEC. But it seemed like it went up a notch with the new stadium in terms of bringing
it did, because you see they hadn't had a Super Bowl. They pretty much said, it's cold in Atlanta. They had an ice storm like 20 years ago during the Super Bowl week, and they weren't going to go ever again to a city where there's just that hint that there was going to be snow somewhere. But I think it snowed in Dallas one year for their Super Bowl. It snowed one year in Indy for the Super Bowl. So they didn't really have an excuse. The Mercedes-Benz Stadium has a little ocular eye that opens and closes. So there's no inclement weather aspect there. The Play World Cup is going to happen this summer with some games here in Atlanta, and next year there are like 8 matches, including a semifinal match for the World Cup. And anybody that talks about it says the World Cup is like 8 Super Bowls, the equivalent of. So anybody got a spare bedroom in Atlanta next year, you're gonna make bank because the world will be coming to Atlanta for those 8 games. As a matter of fact, the U.S. soccer training facility now is south of town in Peachtree City. So they built that out there. So it's become a soccer mecca of sorts. But yeah, you got college football, the Peach Bowl's in the rotation for being semifinal game, quarterfinal games. And of course, you got a Mercedes-Benz on January 20th hosting the championship. As a matter of fact, today I was on a conference call for about an hour and a half, the final tune-up conference call for the college football championship game that, covered everything from, weather to potential terrorist threats to food and food poisoning to parking to parades, because January 20th has so much going on. It is Martin Luther King birthday. They're going to have parades in town. It's also the inauguration in D.C., and it's also the championship game. It's also
wow, yeah,
a lot going on January 20th. So it's going to be a lot of resources.
That's a lot of planning.
Yeah, it's a lot of planning going into it. So the teams arrive here on the 17th for the championship game. There's a window from 2 to 8, and I have to be out there from 2 to 8 when they arrive. I was when we had one of the planning meetings, I was telling one of the NCAA people that I said, well, really, we only have to worry about one team because one team's going to bus over from Athens. And that proved to be so you got to sit out there.
You ruined it for UGA. You're the jinx.
Pretty much.
You are the jinx.
Yeah. So
now we know who to blame, Tree.
Exactly.
Really, Tim? That's how you're doing the dogs?
That's how I did them. So they're like, yeah, right. Wow. So we'll be greeting 2 teams coming in on the 17th as opposed to 1. So we're looking forward to that. But I think it's going to be a great Final Four. But this is just a kickoff of all the playoff palooza. And we'll get to the NFL after a while, because you got the 2 Thursday, Friday of the college games, Saturday, Sunday, and now Monday will be the playoff games. So if you like football, you're going to have enough of it. And I know down here in Atlanta, people are going to be inside on Friday at least. We got an impending snow ice storm on its way for Friday into Saturday. So
if we know anything, Atlanta cannot handle threat of snow or actual snow.
Yeah, it'll be DEFCON 12 on a Thursday night, when you won't see any milk or bread on the shelves, as if
is it still there now?
Everybody's making French toast, I guess, on Friday, because let no milk or bread left around town. So
I mean, is it any left? Because my sisters have been texting about the impending snow and sweaters and coats, and they don't even go out that much, but it's like sweaters and coats and
Hey.
getting ready for the storm. It's like, it's yeah.
Yeah, well,
Ricky's probably laughing about that.
They're expecting like 3 inches of snow with about a glaze of half an inch of ice. So they're that's the deal for that's the deal. Yeah.
When I left Nashville and went to work in Detroit, the first snow we had about 10 or 12 inches. I'm like, of course I ain't go to work that day. People calling, man, where are you? I'm like, there's 12 inches of snow out here. Dude said, so what?
So
yeah, I had to drive. I had to drive to a television station to work on ice. And so I was like, when I was in North Carolina working at a TV station, I was like, that was my job to be there. So you just have to go.
So I'm trying to think about now sleeping, because I'm part of the crisis comms team, and we do those things for such severe weather events. Thinking about Thursday night into Friday, sleeping in over there as opposed to trying to drive down to the airport. We activate our emergency unit tomorrow at 2. So yeah, it's getting real for the folks in Atlanta.
Well, seriously, good luck to everybody down there. And until we got a special guest that I'm going to bring in and let you introduce to our audience here on You Get What You Get.
Hello.
Yeah, America. We have here with us one of the finest men in America. He is a Griffin, Georgia native, a Morehouse man, Northwestern grad, and he's the CEO of the Dallas Citizens Council. I think that's correct.
That's correct. That's right.
And I want to also say that I'm so proud of him, and he is the chairman of this year's Goodyear Cotton Bowl. So we want to welcome in Kelvin Walker.
Thank you.
Walker? Oh, I forgot also, because the man above you in my screen is Rickey Hampton, who is a Kappa.
Yes.
He is Kelvin is a proud member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. So,
Kelvin got the year right. Good job on getting the year right.
I got the year right. I thought you might still be somewhat shimmying then, Ricky.
Kelvin, we are doing a lot of partying in Detroit the last couple of days. We don't know how to act with a winning football team around here, man.
Hey, look, I being a long-suffering Falcons fan, still in therapy from the Super Bowl a few years back. I got about another year of therapy. Look, just enjoy the ride. I mean, I don't just each week, just enjoy it. Brother. And you guys have a good team, so and a good coach, so you won't have the 28-3 issue we had.
You hurt me.
Don't get him started, man.
Oh, like that. Okay, moving on.
Yeah,
you guys.
Hey, Kelvin, we were just talking. Tim was just.
Go ahead, Rick.
No, go ahead, Tim.
I think you guys really. I know you.
I was just going to ask. Tim was
dancing around the room about Texas being in your game. I mean, granted, it's not the same as a Red River Classic, but
Let me tell you.
Go ahead.
Having Texas, they haven't been there since 2003, and they've been in the Cotton Bowl 22 times. This will be their 23rd visit. So the team that's been in the most. But you can't imagine. I acquired about 75,000 new buddies who all just happen to have my number. Oh, you got any extra tickets? I'm like, you really think there are extra tickets to a game like this? But having them at Ohio State we couldn't have asked for a better draw. And whether notwithstanding, we're just going to have a great crowd, and it'll be. I mean, the game's been sold out since July.
Well, you say that, but you have to talk about the weather. I forget that you guys expecting like about 8 to 12 inches of snow on Friday.
Yeah, it started out 8 to 12. Now they're saying 2 to 6. We hope that becomes 1 to 3. but it's on Thursday day during the day, and it should be dissipate by 9 or 10 in the morning on Friday, and then we may actually get a little sun toward the end of the afternoon. So we'll keep the parking lot clear. Hopefully everything will be in a way that we can everybody can enjoy it.
And you got a 7:30.
And we're indoors.
Yeah, you're indoors. You got a 7:30 kick. We'll talk about just the whole. I mean, granted, you guys had it all buttoned up before Texas became one of the. What has that been like? Just leading up to the Cotton Bowl.
It is. This is our first year where we've had this playoff system, of course, and so the preparation all year. We had probably the smallest staff of the New Year's Six bowls. We only have 10 full-time people. Put in perspective, Rose Bowl has 60 or 70, but they're really a parade that happens to have a game. So our team, we're just working all year, not knowing who we're going to have to make sure we have Goodyear's our sponsor, and then we get to go after a few local corporate sponsors that can also be sponsors for us, and then we spend the rest of the time just making sure we have all of our logistics down, almost a rehearsal. The hotels, what will teams need when they get here? What will their families need when they get here? Because historically, we were a full week of activities between Christmas and New Year's. And now we're taking all that and putting it in 3 days. The teams will come in on Wednesday and leave on Friday, maybe Saturday morning. So the preparation for us this year has been, how do we cram 7 days of hospitality into really 2.5? And what can we do for the teams to make them feel comfortable while we know they're on a business? This is not like just a hangout, like you're going to a bowl game for a whole week and you get to tour the city. These guys are coming in Wednesday. There'll likely be a press conference Wednesday and then one Thursday, but they'll be doing their walkthroughs and practice and ready to play, thinking about if they can make it to Atlanta.
I would guess that in light of what happened in New Orleans, and there's an extra emphasis on security.
Yes.
And I know we can't talk about specifics, but yeah.
When I woke up to that news, the first thing I talked to Rick Baker, our president and CEO, who had already been talking to our Arlington Police Department about what else we do, and AT&T Stadium. The Cotton Bowls had the luxury of being located or headquartered inside the AT&T Stadium. So that's where the offices are. So a very close partnership with the Jones family and the management team that runs the stadium. So that made it a little easier to think about what else we should do. And then layer on college football, the CFP, thinking about what else should happen, and took input from both and really direction from them as to what they want us to do. Arlington PD is clearly stepping up what they're going to do in terms of when you come into the parking lots that are part of AT&T Stadium, there'll be a little bit more screening of each car. Obviously they're increasing the screening that you go through a detector anyway, but I think they're changing the one that will go through for this game. I think the Cowboys used it in their last game on Sunday. And so we're just going to be able to piggyback on what they learned from that process. It's going to be a little bit slower maybe to get in, maybe slightly, but everyone's got to be screened because we just don't need any craziness.
I would hope the fans would understand that and would want that extra layer of protection. But then again, people are people. And they just want to get in and have their fun. And
they've forgotten. It's amazing how the New Orleans news is gone now in terms of how people were talking about it for 2 or 3 days, and we're on to the weather now. So some people may not like it, but I don't think it's going to take too long of a process. We're trying to encourage people to come early for that reason. We have Shaq DJing from Shaquille O'Neal will DJ from 4:30 to 5:30. In the West Plaza. So just as another entertainment for people to come out early and hang out. And of course the bands will do that thing outside, but that'll be another way of inducement to get people in. They can meet Shaquille, hang out well before the game. And we're hoping people will do that.
Well, how much
sounds like fun? It sounds like fun. And so we know now not to ask for tickets. So go ahead, Tim.
No. The coordination you get, you mentioned Arlington Police Department, but I guess because of New Orleans, you're going to have federal and state people augmenting that kind of protection and that kind of thing that's going on.
Yeah, we will, because there are a lot of the elected officials, state elected officials who are UT grads who they haven't been in a while. I'm fairly sure some of them are going to show up. So that'll add some extra layer of kind of pre-work, looking at anyone who's been sort of scouting the area, if you will. So I think that helps us too. And we don't have, it's a pretty controlled area. Tons of parking lots around AT&T, but the way to get in, and once you have to get scanned and screened, there'll be officers everywhere. So I think.
Go ahead, sir. I was saying the beauty of it is because where you have it's a complex. You got the baseball stadium with its parking over there, and that's why you guys have you can pretty much cordon off that whole area because it's out there in the middle, and pretty much can have any access is cut off.
Yeah, it's true. You can see everyone coming toward the place, right? So I think we're safe. I mean, there's no, we got to make sure we're responsible about it, but we're hopeful that it'll go off without a hitch, and then people will have fun. After the game, we have a drone show. And so we're mindful of what happened in other ones, but that have a nice show for folks to hang out. I mean, it's going to be a little chilly by the time the game ends, but the sky should be clear, and we don't think it's going to be very windy, so we should be all right.
That's cool. So we put in our order for for me, Ricky, and Tim for next year's Cotton Bowl?
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll get you in the media and celebrity dignitary area.
But that's going to be the harder part, though, for real, because like in terms of security, because you're talking about all these alums and security in I'm quite sure the governor, you got those kind of folks will be coming through there, and it's like they'll have their security details, which for the people who are in the suites, they're the ones that are going to have probably the bigger issues as opposed to people who are
because there's going to be people walking through, making you wait when all the, when those types of dignitaries come through. But it should be, this is what we call our short week. Next year we'll be a quarterfinal, and so we'll be back around New Year's Eve. So we have the luxury of having a 4 or 5 day event. And we've been watching to see how Fiesta and Peach and others went for their quarterfinal, because it has become much more of a business trip for the players, like the teams that get in the top 12. Because think about it, to win it all, you got to win 2 bowl games. So there's really 2 big expenses, but both of those have been cut down some because they know it's not the last game.
Right. But for you as a chairman, what was your role throughout this past year? What were your duties? What did that entail?
Well, we have the way we do it here is we have a board of 80 or 90 people, pretty big board. So we've got broad community support from both Tarrant and Dallas County, the Fort Worth side and the Dallas side. And actually, one of the ways that we ensure that ticket brokers don't get a lot of tickets, we all buy a minimum of 60 tickets. Some people buy 100 plus. Plus, we have a long-standing group of season ticket holders. So a lot of ours, we're kind of the community ambassadors for what the Cotton Bowl means to us. And what that means is the Cotton Bowl Foundation is the beneficiary of the money we make from the game. And so during the year, we're spending a lot of our time trying to figure out who are the best grantees that serve the underserved youth population, more educational nonprofits that need that extra $25,000 or $50,000 plus across the Dallas and Tarrant County area that can help them, really execute their mission. So much of my work before this is about how we do all the mission work for the Cotton Bowl Foundation to be engaged in the community. And then we spend the year, of course, getting excited about the game, and we begin to follow what's happening with college football in the fall after about the 5th week. CFP rankings get ready to start coming out. But those are the big things we do because our staff is such a well-oiled machine. In fact, one of your fellow teammates, Daryl Beasley's daughter, is an intern with us, and so she's done a great job. But the staff does a lot of work just preparing, because it's almost like it's a big event. as soon as it's over, come our February board meeting, we'll be talking about what we have to do in December for the game. And it's everything from renewing contracts to with vendors to who we want to have as our opening act. We have a party for the coaches and families the night before. So this year we had Brad Paisley performing, they say country and Western. That's what you would call him. And so a lot of it is just getting ready for the event. And it's a lot of event planning. And then the game comes and it's like that.
Does Goodyear do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of helping with the fundraising, or
no?
How does corporate sponsorship impacted the Cotton Bowl? I'll put it that way.
ESPN controls so much of what anybody does, right? So we have Goodyear as our title sponsor. We have the right to have some other smaller sponsorships, but like we couldn't go out and tell AT&T, Verizon, and Procter & Gamble, hey, you guys be $1 million sponsors. They're already part of the ESPN, the rights that ESPN paid for when they paid to be able to broadcast all of these games. So there's this balance between who we can get. We can get some local sponsors, and we try to focus on some smaller local companies so that they get a lot of them want the exposure to 80,000 plus folks at a game or any of our other events. So that really, ESPN has changed the whole game. And if you notice, all the games on ESPN effectively determines what time your game will be and what day your game will be. And there's really not, there's some discussion. We moved last year. I think we switched with the Peach Bowl last year in the 2024 games. We wanted the later slot because we thought we had a more competitive matchup with Ohio State and Missouri, although most of Ohio State's players opted out. So ESPN really controls the show in terms of the dollars, other than your title sponsor. And they've been with us for a long time.
Goodyear has been with you for a long time. Is it Goodyear?
Goodyear, yes, Goodyear's been with us. I've been on the board 7 or 8 years, and they've been a title sponsor well before I joined the board. So
that's because you've been involved in this, and it's like you've had your hand in college sports. What do you how do you see it right now? In terms of, it seems like the landscape changed so radically with NIL. How does it look at the business aspect of that with college athletics?
I'm excited that the young men and women have a chance in college sports to have NIL to really use their name, image, and likeness. The two things when I think about it is that on the one hand, historically the coaches could always make a move and the players could not. I'm glad they have the right to move around and be a part of and use their name, image, and likeness. I think the challenge is going to be long-term for bowl games and postseason play is I have a feeling at some point these collectives are going to say, okay, Tim Turner, we're paying you X $100,000 or whatever to be a player on X whatever university team. That also includes your playing in the postseason. And I don't know how that's that's my point of view, because I think those collectives made up of a lot of sponsors and alumni are going to say, if my team gets to the bowl, I don't want the 10 superstars to say, I'm opting out. So I don't know how that's going to work. This is just me talking, not the Cotton Bowl's perspective, but that's what I think happens.
No, but I think you're onto something there, because I thought that it's like when you accepted that check, you accepted it for the duration of the season, irrespective of your draft position. So what you're saying is something, but at the same time, I'm thinking if you are in the top 12, you don't have that same opt-out issue as somebody's playing in Shreveport or playing in the Bahamas or in Boca. Those bowls are the bowls where people have, the second tier bowls, not even the ones that are really small. The second tier was that opted out. And I have a problem with kids even being on the sidelines who opt out because you effectively say, I don't want you opt out. You're not playing. Don't be around us. And that's what my mindset is. So if you're going to take this money from this collective and saying you're going to play for Alabama for this season, you don't quit because you didn't make the final 12.
Absolutely. You don't quit. You can't quit then. And I think the other part of it that has to change is historically by January 7th or 8th, the national championship game was happening. Everything's done. But now when you think about the national championship game being on January 20th, school has already started. So the transfer portal stuff is a little trickier. I mean, you saw the Penn State, I think it was a Penn State backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Went into the portal before the playoffs because they realized the cutoff to be enrolled in another school was going to hit them. And there's no way they could, if Penn State runs the table and gets all the way to the playoff, to the championship game, they have to be enrolled as a student at that school. So I'm betting that the portal dates will change at some point to mirror what's happening with the championship games, or they're going to allow somehow for someone to be enrolling late, if you will, kind of during drop ad period or whatever, because school is started. And so a young man can't say, well, I want to transfer intra semester. You're not going to be able to do that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
When you talk about the students and the kids, you guys really don't have to have that kind of headache because you're a major player. You guys are in the rotation. You are going to the championship game. You're going to be in the quarters. You're going to get the semis, and it's always going to be that way for you guys. And so it's the other folks that have those kinds of headaches.
Yeah, if you're the Bahamas Bowl, although I think anybody that gets chosen to go to the Bahamas Bowl, why wouldn't you play, right? You're going to the Bahamas. But a lot of those bowls, and I can see how a young man would say, well, if I go to this bowl and I get hurt and we were a 7-5 team and it hurts my chances at the next level, I get it. It's sort of, it doesn't make sense. So I don't know that. I have a feeling NIL will create economic incentives because those alums still want to see the team that they watched all year play. Although I will say it's interesting to see how some of the players who have been second string players have seen this as their almost beginning of spring practice and debut for the next year, because a lot of the other players have decided I'm getting ready for the draft or I'm going into the portal. I just don't know if we get to a point where we're having a whole lot of sort of Senior Bowl games, right? Where people are playing, but no one wants to get hurt.
Is there going to be like a big exhale for you once Friday's over?
Yes. Yeah, and I think I will say, obviously, if I had a different matchup without Texas, it would be a little different. But it does create more hyper focus on the game because Texas is in it. And you've got, I would imagine the alumni association for Texas in Dallas is probably 75,000 people. I know the Houston alumni chapter is 55,000, right? And they say Dallas is bigger. So I don't think it's 100,000, but you think that many people right here in North Texas, all of whom would love to go to the game, and many of whom are working at the media outlets. It's been the story since the day they won. So I'll be happy to see it come, be happy to see it be done, and then we can take
plan for the next year.
Hey, plan and see who goes to Atlanta, right? Coming to Atlanta.
But doesn't that, it kind of helps the other team that plays in that stadium, that all this excitement's going on because nobody's really paying attention to the season that they had. And as far as I know, as far as I know, your boy McCarthy still is a coach there. And I'm talking about more so the Cowboys. Pretty much, nobody's paying attention to that as much this week, were it not for the long in Ohio State.
He's getting a week off because there's so much hype around the game. I think, who knows what happens there, right? I mean, I think he's his record this year, obviously not great, but I think overall it hadn't been that bad. But the question is, no one knows what Mr. Jones is going to do there.
I'll tell you what, I've become a fan of the show Landman.
He's in it, right? Yeah,
it's a miniseries, and Jerry had a cameo Sunday night, and he was outstanding. I
heard he was good. Yeah, I need to go see it. Yeah,
he was an actor. I'm like, this dude could quit doing what he's doing now. He was so convincing. He had a scene with John Hamm and I can think of Thornton, Billy Bob Thornton, and it was unreal how deep Jerry was. It's as if the dude was born to do that. So I was totally taken aback. So that's the only time I would give him any props, because I think otherwise he's jacked up your franchise over there. But he is an outstanding actor.
How do you feel about him, Tim? I'm not sure. Could you be more clear?
Jerry has owned that franchise for a long time, and we thank him for all the championships. And
he told the story of how he got the franchise in that clip on that show.
Oh, did he really? Oh, wow.
Pretty much, it could have totally been fictional, but he told that story, and oh my gosh, I could watch that scene a million times over, because I cannot believe that this is a dude who is not an actor.
I gotta find that. I mean, his story of growing that franchise to that level of value, and then the other part of it is just he and his family developed so much of Frisco, kind of north of Plano, where he put the training facility. It has been a multi-billion-dollar, success, entertainment complex. So you couldn't see it happening when it was happening, and now which you can't imagine it not being there. But
is that his ball?
Yeah, I don't know
Hey guys, let me jump in here right quick before I get kicked back off.
Welcome back.
I keep going out. Calvin, I see now I'm at a hotel, so I see now things go better when I just step off. But I want to ask you quickly, and then I'm gonna kick myself back out. When you look at the history of the Cotton Bowl, Ernie Davis and Jim Brown,
yes,
and now yourself as campaign director, is there a sense of pride that you take knowing what those gentlemen did to not only pave the way for you, but all the other athletes that have come through there? Could you speak to that? And I'm gonna hop back on the call.
Absolutely. It is. I guess he's already hopped back off.
He gave us warning.
It's certainly gratifying. I think we have a long history that goes back to Wally Triplett, who was one of the first African American players to play for Penn State, and Penn State was going to come down here to play, and there was this whole notion that the team they were going to play wouldn't show up, and that was when they created the chant "We are Penn State," right? And at the 75th anniversary of that game, one of our chief communications officer, head of communications, we gave $75,000 to Penn State in memory of Wally Triplett. And I think we've been very intentional in both recognizing players who've done well, period. And we've had a number of them, the Jim Browns, Ernie Davises of the world. Bo Jackson is going into the Hall of Fame this year for the Cotton Bowl, who played well. And I think about all that history. And even as a kid watching the game every year, it's still amazing to me. I'm like, wow, Cotton Bowl. Then I'm thinking, I'm the board chair. It's been a really cool experience so far. And I'm the second African American board chair. We had Fred McClure, who served 2 terms, and he's on one of the part of the leadership team at Texas A&M. But and we strive to make sure our board is more reflective of our community and honestly reflective of who plays on the field. So
that's cool. But I know I didn't want to keep you all night, but because I know you probably have a ton of things on your list, your checklist still to take care of. That Kelvin, we really appreciate you coming on tonight. And thank you. And it's always good to see a good guy do really well. So
I'm honored to do it, Tim. You and I go way back, man. To me, staying.
Well, wait, Ben, I need to hear the way back stories about Tim.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you how I first met Tim. I was playing baseball in high school, and we were playing a tournament in Columbus, Georgia. And in those days, you stayed with other families when you went to play. And I stayed with a family that lived next door, I think, to Tim.
Across the street.
Across the street, the East family. And I happened to meet Tim then when I'm in high school. Then I don't see Tim again until I move into my dorm, and he is my RA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was going to wear my Morehouse shirt in solidarity, but I didn't want Ricky to feel bad. So I left my Morehouse shirt upstairs. But
oh, you should have worn that. Let that Kappa feel bad. We don't care about that. No.
And then he comes.
I got to jump back in on that.
Come back in.
And then he comes back on that.
Let y'all know I'm a mighty Virginia Union Panther, baby.
The Union, a great D2 school, man. You guys have won national championships in basketball. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, brother, congratulations to you, man. I hope everything goes well next week. And we got to get you back on too, to take this conversation a little further after you get some time to relax a little bit following the bowl season.
Sure. I'm gonna ask, you guys should invite one. Have you guys met Eric Moses? You know, Eric's this African American man who was the president of the Fiesta Bowl.
Oh, okay.
So happy to intro you. I mean, he's been in the business a long time as an executive, and I'm sure he could share all kinds of stories with you as well.
Cool. I just wrote his name down. We're gonna go with Mr. Moses. We thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And my very best to you and your lovely family there.
Thank you. Same to yours. Trey, nice to meet you. And we're a tree.
Yeah.
How do I say it? Trey. I had it right. Okay.
Yeah,
Tree.
right. Tim did it too, so it's okay.
But thank y'all for having me, man. And look forward to chatting with you again soon.
All right. Nice to meet you. Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all. Take care. Right. Bye-bye.
So Tim, hopefully we get Ricky back in here. There he is.
Yeah, you got me. You got me now. I mean, I know. I found out that the street just works better where I happen to be with just 3 people. So I just tried to duck out a little bit. But that was a tremendous conversation, guys. And we just turn the game on when it comes on, right?
Right.
Yeah, I know Tim kind of knows a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes and the preparation than you and I would, Tree. But we just tune in to watch the game. But it's hours and hours and hours and weeks and months of work that goes on to make that happen.
Of course.
Yeah, we started some of the meeting for the championship game. Started those meetings, gosh, back in July and August, leading up to now. And they had all the logistics down. I mean, they do it from city to city to city. They have it pretty much on lockdown. But the deal is this year, and it's only happened within the past year. There's an area around the Mercedes-Benz Stadium called the Gulch. It used to be an area everybody would go tailgate and everything, but now they're filling in the Gulch. They have this incredible Hilton Hotel there that is right in the middle. It's right next to the Georgia World Congress Center. It's attached next to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and it's not just a stone's throw from State Farm Arena. So the NCAA pretty much has taken over that hotel because people could just come out of their room and walk mere feet to go inside the stadium there. So it's they pretty much have these things on lock. I think the team hotels are the Hyatt downtown and the Marriott downtown. The 2 teams will be going there, and those are pretty much places that are used to handling large events and being the centers of attention. They have so many these Dragon Con conferences and that kind of stuff happen down there at the Hyatt. If you remember the movie Flight with Denzel Washington was the airline pilot. That hotel was Hyatt there in Atlanta, downtown. So
Wow.
you walk in there and you're like, I remember what you want to know why you remember it. It's from that movie. So they're used to having
Wow.
big events there and having things done downtown.
Hey, what two teams are going to be in those downtown hotels there?
The two teams. Oh, it's easy. It's going to be Ohio State and Notre Dame. As much as I hate it, I'm not a Notre Dame fan. I think they get too much run for not being any good forever until this year.
What?
No, I mean, they're like the Cowboys.
And I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that.
It's all name. They haven't done anything to warrant all the run that they get. I mean, they got their own network essentially on NBC. The game that they played against Georgia was the first game in like 10 years.
Yeah,
that wasn't on NBC.
And they can play the softer schedule.
You get to pick your schedule, and you get to be sort of kind of in the ACC. They're an outlier, and I've always resented that because other people have to play conference schedules, and they don't have to. They're essentially a quasi independent. They're in the ACC in basketball and football, sort of kind of. But they're not, they don't do the other stuff.
But speaking of, we were talking about Georgia earlier. Condolences to Coach Smart, Kirby Smart, who tragically lost his father.
His dad was in New Orleans, had a fall, and he messed up his hip, and he was supposed to have surgery on New Year's Day, but when the game was put off, they put off the surgery. And then when he had the surgery, they couldn't wake him up from the anesthesia.
Oh, no.
And
I hadn't heard that. That's awful.
He passed away that Saturday morning. So Kirby had a lot more on his mind than X's and O's against Notre Dame. So it's just a testament to him, to how he was able to come through all of that, because I'm quite sure that was weighing heavily on his mind. And he was, because his dad was there because of him, because of his team. So you think
his father was a football coach, right? Coach high school.
Yeah. So just on top of the tragedy of the 14 people that were killed in that incident as well, it was I think the Sugar Bowl was right to postpone the game. There was no way they should have played that on that day.
No, that was the right call for sure. Yeah, I had a friend of mine that works at UGA, and I thought about her being there with her family, and I checked on her. They were fine, but they were also trying to, account for personnel as well as students, and then of course tragically had a student who was killed in that. So, it's terrible, and that's the world that unfortunately that is. There's so many things that are happening that makes you somewhat not want to go out, but then people want to go out and enjoy games.
For sure.
In life.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's tough. It's very tough.
Hey, Tim, we just got a few more minutes left. The interview with Kelvin was so great. It went a little long, but actually, since we come on air. No, I think this broke a little earlier this evening. Antonio Pierce was let go by the
Raiders,
Las Vegas Raiders. Yes.
Yeah. So you got he was one and done. You got Jared Mayo, one and done in New England. You got the brother in Tennessee. The Titans have the number one pick in the draft coming up this year, and after two seasons, he's gone. So it's like that NFL,
right?
Mean not for long for brothers in their position.
Oh wow!
So because you think about it,
right? Not for long. That is
not for long.
Yeah. Bill Parcells was didn't have a winning season. His first each one of his two stops in the NFL, he did not have winning seasons. Jimmy Johnson had a losing record his first season. And I think he brought the Cowboys 3 Super Bowls, if I'm not mistaken. There's 7 Super Bowls in New England with Bill Parcells, and these guys were allowed to have a losing season. I think about the brother that's defensive coordinator for the Broncos, Joseph. I think that's his name. And he was one and done in Denver.
Vance Joseph. Vance Joseph.
Yeah. Vance Joseph. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was one and done in Denver.
Dan Campbell won.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell won. I'm sorry, Tim. Dan Campbell won 3 games first year.
Mm-hmm.
And start. I think he was 3-18. And I'm glad they stuck with him, but if he'd have been a brother, he'd have been gone by then for sure.
Right. And
you don't get second chances.
No, you got to be excellent at the box.
I mean, we always have to be excellent, or
only place where you don't have to be excellent at the box, right here in Atlanta. You can go 8-9. You can go 8-9 and keep your job. Raheem Morris is keeping his gig. You know, he's been like the most dubious.
Yeah, but
on-coaching.
But you know what? They got a quarterback.
They do now, but like they should have put the brother in 4 weeks ago. If they put him in there 4 weeks ago, they'd be in the playoffs. But they stuck with the guy because they paid him $3 trillion, and he couldn't throw and he couldn't run. And you know, it didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense. It's like
other than that, he was all right.
Or if they say in your neck of wood, that don't make no sense.
Don't make no sense. brother was balling.
He can't throw. He can't throw. He can't run. Other than that, he's fine, right?
He's fine. You know, every time, this is what happened when he got benched. Every sports talk station in town said, he's a great guy. We love him. He's a great guy. You know, that great guy, you know, but he was a terrible teammate because he kept throwing balls to the other people.
Tim, did he was he worse than Matt at the end of his career?
Oh, yeah. Matt Ryan wasn't bad at the end of his career. He was not bad. And I think
if Matt was your quarterback this year, y'all be in the playoffs.
I would think so. Because put it this way. Kyle Pitts, our lethargic, no good, trifling tight end, his rookie season made all pro. Was in the Pro Bowl. He hadn't smelled a Pro Bowl since. That's because Matt Ryan knew how to get the ball to him and use him. Cousins couldn't get the ball to him, and Pitts really hadn't. You know, he's not excelled at all. That guy's been awful. For being as talented as he is, he's been a non-factor. It's straight up. You know, you got Brock Bowers, tight end from Georgia last year, goes to NFL this year, sets a rookie receiving record. I mean, there are people, and the Raiders didn't have any kind of offense. They had 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Pitts was the best tight end. He's the best tight end prospect I'd seen in years coming out.
Outstanding. You know, you would think, you know, but maybe he got the ball a lot more in the last 2 games with Penix at quarterback. And I think maybe that's another thing, because there were a lot of drops the last 2 weeks from the receivers. Why? Because the ball was coming in there at 200 miles an hour, when before a weak-armed Cousins was throwing the ball, it would take, 2 weeks to get to a receiver.
Tim, I sense your frustration. But Ricky, how's your team doing? I mean, our team doing?
There we go. There we go.
Let's switch it over to like some winners.
Okay, that was well. Speaking of coaches, I think Aaron Glenn, what he's done, he's going to get an opportunity to coach. They may lose both coordinators this week, but Aaron Glenn, that was a masterpiece the other night against that offense. As depleted as the Lions defense is, for them to put on that performance. But they are a hard-nosed team, man. And they play fearless football. Those 4th downs is just every day for them.
I was about to say that. It's like, this dude's like, I have no compulsion whatsoever to go on a 4th down. 4th and 5, okay, let's do it. We got receivers, we got a tight end, we got 2 great running backs. I'm good. 4th down means nothing to me. It's another down.
But I don't mind that. But they had 4th and an inch the other night.
Yeah.
And they go play action.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
That's the way they play.
I like them a lot. I like winners.
They're a fun team to watch.
Well, I'm thinking about the dude going to the bank right now with a mask on is the punter for the Lions. because he gets no work at all on 1st and the 15th. When that thing, an automatic deposit hits, he's like, "Yeah, thank y'all, thank you, coach."
And we'll talk about this in later shows. We don't have much to. I think the team to beat though is Baltimore. I think Lamar Jackson is on a mission.
He's awesome.
And he got the big fella back there with him now.
Yeah.
Ooh, if everybody stays healthy, because all that, as you well know, guys, is contingent on tell me who's healthy, right?
And I think they just lost a receiver the other night.
Zay Johnson is questionable.
Yeah, to an injury. So, but good gosh, you got a hammer back there. You got Lamar making great plays. Zay Flowers, you got two really good tight ends. The defense is playing lights out, and Pittsburgh is stinking this year.
Yeah.
I mean, but team Thomas had a winning season, has never had a losing season. But man, they're limping into the playoff with 4 or 5 straight losses, right?
Yeah, 4 straight losses. Yeah. And they got Baltimore first round.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's not going to be a good look on them. They're going to be bounced out in the first round. I can't see them beating Baltimore. You got the Chargers and the Texans. I didn't even think the Chargers made the playoff. That when I saw that, I was really surprised. The Texans, they're at home. That's a toss.
I just found out today that Jalen Hurts has not practiced since he left with the
concussion protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people who were upset. I was listening to the Philly radio station this week. They were upset that he wasn't playing because and they wanted to. They were upset. They set everybody out because Barkley had a chance to get the single season rushing record.
Yeah,
set out. Granted, to me, when they're playing 18 games, when you got cats getting this single season record in 14 games, in 12 games, it's a different thing. Right. A guy rushing for 1,000 yards now means nothing. You need to rush for 1,800 yards. 100 yards a game. 1,000 yards is just jump change. Then you got the Steelers and the Ravens. Then on Sunday, you got the Broncos and the Bills. Broncos are the surprise team. It took what's the guy's name? I keep calling Frankie Muniz, Peyton, the coach at Denver.
Yeah.
I call him. He looks like Frankie Muniz. He comes in 2 years, turns that team around. So
coaching matters. Coaching matters.
Absolutely, it does. You got the Packers and the Eagles. That's going to be a tough one. I mean, Jordan Love is great. The Packers don't skip a beat. They always find a quarterback. They always find somebody who's good. And the Eagles are coming in there. They got Barkley. They're at home. They got Barkley. And they got Hurts probably coming back. Even if they had their backup in there, they would probably still beat the Packers. The Commanders and the Bucks. That's going to be a game right there.
If you think back on the Wayback Machine, didn't you guys question Lamar Jackson's mom?
I sure did.
I was like,
Mama shouldn't be negotiating the contract, but Mama got her son paid.
Mama cussed him out the other night. That's what he says. Mama cussed him out. I was like, don't underestimate mamas. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
Not ever again.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who wins the MVP because between Jackson and what my man in Buffalo has done, Josh Allen. Yeah, they have just been tremendous. But we got to get out of here, guys. Special thanks to Kevin Walker for checking in with us, and we definitely need to get him back, Tim.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I'll be home next week and have a better communication system. Fingers crossed. But we did make it through the night, and it was a great conversation. So until then, take care, everybody. For Tree McDougal and Tim Turner, I'm Rick Hampton.
All right. Be kind, everybody. Good night.